all kinds of examples, most of them from this year, and that's what's I think critical for us all to understand. Most of them from this year and election year. And that's what concerns me and so many Americans, because we saw what Google did in 2016. We all know about the email the day after the election where top executives at Google email chain where they talked about the silent donation Google made to the Clinton campaign. Now, thank goodness it wasn't enough, and in spite of their efforts to help Clinton, President Trump won. But we're 97 days before an election, and the power, as the previous chairman and ranking member have said, the power these companies have to impact what happens during an election, what American citizens get to see prior to their voting is pretty darn important. That's why this committee hearing is important. Look, we all think the free market's great. We think competition's great. We love the fact that these are American companies. But what's not great is censoring people, censoring conservatives, and trying to impact elections. And if it doesn't end, there has to be consequences. There have to be consequences. That's what I'm concerned about, and I think what so many Americans are concerned about. So I look forward to hearing from our witnesses, Mr. Chairman. And before I yield back, Mr. Chairman, we have a colleague. I would ask unanimous consent that Mr. Johnson, the ranking member of the Constitution Subcommittee, be allowed to participate in today's hearing, which is our customary practice for subcommittee hearings.
The gentleman makes a unanimous consent request.
Mr. Chairman, I would object.
Objection is heard. I now have the pleasure of introducing today's
witnesses. Why are we not allowing? It is customary.
Mr. Jordan, there was a unanimous consent request. Objection was heard, and now we'll introduce our witnesses.
This has never happened.
It is now my pleasure to introduce today's
witnesses.
witnesses. Our first witness is Jeff Bezos, the Chief Executive Officer. Mr. Jordan, I have the time.
But this is the ranking member of the Constitution. We're talking about people's liberties here. We have the ranking member.
Mr. Jordan, you made a unanimous consent request. Objection was heard. Those are our rules.
Objection was.
It is now my pleasure to introduce today's witnesses.
By the Mr.
Our first witness is Jeff Bezos, the Chief
Put your
Executive
mask on.
Officer of Amazon.com. Mr. Bezos founded Amazon in Excuse me, I'm going to remind members of this committee, unless you are speaking, our rules require you to wear a mask according to the attending physician. No, I'm speaking about another member of this committee. I'll begin again. It is now my pleasure to introduce today's witnesses. Our first witness is Jeff Bezos, the Chief Executive Officer of Amazon.com. Mr. Bezos founded Amazon in 1994 as an online bookstore. Since then, Amazon has grown to be the largest online retailer on the internet. Mr. Bezos has also oversees his company's expansion into areas including cloud computing, digital streaming, and artificial intelligence. Mr. Bezos received his Bachelor's of Science from Princeton University. Our second witness, Sundar Pichai, is the Chief Executive Officer of both Alphabet and its subsidiary Google. Mr. Pichai joined Google in 2004 and has helped manage a number of successful products, including Google Chrome, Gmail, and the Android operating system, global daily active users. Mr. Zuckerberg attended Harvard University before leaving to focus full-time on developing Facebook. We welcome all of our distinguished witnesses and thank them for participating in today's hearing. And now we'll begin by swearing you in. And before I do that, I want to also remind you that you are the only ones from your respective companies invited to testify